Hello everybody, I'm Maud. Good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United transfer news. We're going to be talking about a swoop, a 40 million swoop, where Vitinha of Porto is going to be subject to a release clause exercise of £40 million. And Manchester United have been the main name hinted, coming from a number of Portuguese reports this morning. Very good player, very good player. Had a fantastic season for Porto. I think they've won the league actually. And would be a very interesting profile player. So we'll be talking about that. Also be talking about Ajax and the respect and Ten Hag and why he sort of made a promise not to clear them out. A little bit about De Jong. I mean, I just don't really want to talk about De Jong today, to be honest with you. And yeah, a few other bits about the Glazers, etc. But I just want to start off by saying this Bissouma deal. I know it's nothing to do with Manchester United, but Bissouma to Spurs for 25 million. You know, I remember getting taken to watch a football match with my dad when I was a young kid. I forget what game it was, but there was a fan going absolutely mad about 3 rows down from us. He was screaming, he was shouting, he was swearing. And I remember my dad saying to me, that swearing's obviously not acceptable, but that man really cares about this football club. And all week he's probably in a job he's not happy with. Maybe his home life's not great. And the thing he really cares and passionate about is Saturday afternoon watching his team play. And he just lets it all out because it matters to him and he loves this club. Right. This is what our frustration is as Manchester United fans, because I wake up again this morning and I'm absolutely fuming with what we are doing in this transfer window. We are at our lowest ebb. We have had our worst ever Premier League season. I've seen the worst ever squad down tools against teams like Liverpool and Man City not care. I would have ran on that pitch and put more effort in than them, and I'm shit. So I'm at this point now with this team, and I think many other United fans are, where we absolutely cannot identify with the owners, the board and the players. We can identify with the club that we love because we love it for a different reason. We don't love it because of the board, we don't love it because of the owners, and we don't love it because of these players at the moment, but we love it. And it's being mishandled and mistreated. And this is where United go wrong constantly, because they just describe it as fans being hysterical. And it's not hysterical. It's because we care. And I wake up again this morning and yet again, I'm like, what the hell are we up to? Spurs, I put a tweet out yesterday or on Sunday saying Spurs are actually planning their summer transfer window better than us. There was a rumour that they were going to give Conte 150 million quid. He's already identified Spence as the right back, Richarlison as the striker, Torres as the centre back, and now he's gone and got Bissouma for 25 million quid. Conte and Spurs have solved our problems by the middle of June. We've solved none of our problems. We haven't got a fullback, we haven't got a centre-back, we haven't got a midfielder, we haven't got a forward. Spurs have, I know they've not completed the deals and they may not get those 4 players, but they're going a long way to solving their problems in next to no time. And what do we get from United? We won't be held to ransom. The transfer window only opened on Friday. Absolute crap. Sort yourselves out, because this is a bloody embarrassment. We should not be being schooled by Liverpool, Spurs and Man City when they're already in the Champions League miles ahead of us. We're playing catch-up. It's like we think everyone's trying to catch up with us. When are we going to start doing something? Stop hanging in there with your hand up for De Jong thinking you're doing something great. Not many people actually would have been bothered about getting De Jong. Of course, we want De Jong now. He's a fantastic player, but De Jong, marquee signing shirt seller, was not the plan coming into this summer. The plan coming into this summer was to rebuild the bloody football club. And if Spurs are getting Bissouma for 25 million quid, it makes my eyes want to bleed. 25 million quid for a player that would solve our midfield problems. 25 million quid for a Premier League proven, press resistant, good passer and tackler of the ball. 25 million quid, that's what's burning me. 25 million quid for a player that would solve our problems. 25 million quid. I'm just absolutely starting to tear my teeth out here. I'm really cannot understand it. I cannot understand it. I cannot understand what we're doing. We cannot be in a situation where we're just buying fucking De Jong for the midfield. I'd rather have got Bissouma for 25 million and Lema for 25 million. We'd have only spent 50 bloody million. You're going to spend 70 on De Jong. I like De Jong. I'm excited by the signing. But for God's sake, when is this club going to understand? We're trying to rebuild the bloody thing. We don't need one player. We need about 8. Bissouma and Lema for 50 million quid. We would, I guarantee, I know this fan base, Bissouma and Lema for 50 million quid, the fan base would have been over the moon with that. But because this De Jong thing's happened, everybody's on about bloody De Jong. And I like De Jong, but is it the right road to go down? Is it the right road to spend 70 million quid on De Jong? One player. What's the bloody plan? Start showing us the plan, because what's the point in frustrating and causing anxiety for your fan base? Show us the bloody plan. Stop keeping it to yourself, because nobody trusts you that you're sat there going, ha 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 ha. When they know my plan, it's world domination. We ain't Dr. No, we're Dr. Know Nothing. We need to sort this out. We need to sort this summer out. I know there's a lot of this summer left, but I'm worried about the deals other people are doing, because they're efficient and they're good. They're good deals. And look, as I said last night, if United are going to produce De Jong and go, ta-da, buy the shirts in the store today, I'm going to go, well, he's a good signing, but that's not enough. It's not enough. What are we going to put De Jong next to fucking McTominay? Like, we need to build the bloody midfield. Come on. Do you think this transfer window is a write-off now? No, I don't, Job. I don't think it's a write-off. I'm just fed up of waking up in the morning and seeing stuff that frustrates me. There's loads of this transfer. I'm just venting. I'm pure venting. Like, if you know me, you know I'm venting. But there's plenty of time to go. We can still have a really good transfer window. We can have a better transfer window than Liverpool, Man City and Spurs. Easily. It's still achievable. But I'm not wrong for being a little bit stressed about what we're doing, and I'm not wrong for being stunned. I'm sure Arsenal fans are the same. I'm sure there's a few Premier League clubs like us. How have Spurs got Bissouma for 25 million? I mean, I would have thought Brighton got 50 million for Ben White. Why has he gone for 25 million? Have you checked how Jordan is? I know he loves Bissouma. Yeah, he's been in our chat group this morning, Joshua. Imagine how stupid our club will look if Barca sort their finances and keep De Jong, says Joshua. I mean, I can't even begin to think about that, Joshua. I really can't. Imagine if we didn't get De Jong. Anyway, on to more positive news. I just needed to vent. Thank you for the therapy session this morning. So I don't want to talk about De Jong at the moment. I want something new. I mean, before the Bissouma story hit, I don't know how you feel in the morning when you wake up and think about United, but I woke up this morning and I was like, I don't want another video about De Jong or Anthony, because we've discussed it. We are where we are. We're interested in both, and that's where we are. We've not signed them. We've not done personal terms. What can we add to the De Jong or Anthony story? And I'm like, we are not doing a De Jong or Anthony story today. So I found this story, and this actually made me feel a little bit positive. Vitinha. Who is Vitinha? He's a 22-year-old midfielder who plays for Porto. He spent, I think, the season before last on loan at Wolves. Wolves, in general, were quite disappointed with how Nuno dealt with him, because he didn't really get a lot of game time. They felt there was a good player there, but they sent him back to Portugal, and it sort of split Wolves fans on what they should have done. So he's gone back to Portugal for Porto. He's won the title. He's 22. He's had a really good season. And reports coming in from Ojogo, Ebola and Record in Portugal, all around this story this morning, that Vitinha's name has been mentioned in meetings that George Mendes regularly holds with most wealthy leagues. Last week he met with Man United and Barcelona. Wolves didn't use their option because finances were hit by the pandemic. So that's one update, but the main one is this. Vitinha's 40 million buyout clause will be exercised by a Premier League club, with Manchester United the only one named. Goodbye is getting closer and closer. And then also we've got this as well from the same. Man United are one of the most interested in Porto midfielder Vitinha, and he fits Ten Hag style. He's heading for an imminent exit. So look, hallelujah, hallelujah. You know, it's a story that I can just get lost in for the next few minutes. Therapy. So, Vitinha, what is he all about? Well, for £33 million, that's his release clause. He's a 22-year-old midfielder. I think he's the sort of player that Pep would want. Which ain't a bad thing, because Ten Hag's system ain't too dissimilar to the way that Pep plays, or Klopp or something like that, who are very different, but they both want to play high line, high possession football. So, Vitinha plays in the midfield too. He has played as a CDM, but he plays in the midfield too. Really, really good on the ball. Very confident on the ball. Very focused on the ball. He can dribble. He can pass. Key passes. All very good at that. But also, he's very press resistant. And I was talking about that with Bissouma. What do I mean by press resistant? Well, press resistant to me is not pressing. It's when you've got the ball and a team tries to press you. He's very good at having the ball in that position because Fred and McTominay are a bloody nightmare. If they were playing rugby, they'd pick the ball up and throw it away. Like they're terrified under the press. So Vitinha is a modern footballer. When he gets pressed, he's confident enough to take the ball on either foot and just pass it out. He likes to drop in between the centre-backs. And he does put the defensive work in as well because he plays in a midfield too where they share the load. So he will intercept, tenacious, press himself. So he would fit a system that Ten Hag plays, which is a midfield too. Would you play De Jong and Vitinha next to each other? I was thinking about this and I don't know whether he's just another alternative. I get the feeling that this is an alternative and not let's get both, a bit like Ruben Neves. But I like the player. I think this is the sort of signing I would love United to make. It's different to like a Bissouma who's Premier League proven, who I would like to get as well. But this would be a scouted deal that would probably make a lot of United fans go, I don't know a lot about him. And look, I'm going to put my hands up, I don't know loads about him, but he is the sort of player that I would like because it's a player that's not glamorous, but he's well scouted, and it would be somebody that Ten Hag wanted. So I do like it. We do need two midfielders as well, but I've got to be absolutely honest. I'm never completely sure about Portuguese outlets, and he's not a defensive. I don't think the defensive side of his game. I mean, he's not very big. His aerial duels. He's not very good at that. So I'm not convinced that him and De Jong would work in a defensive setup. But look, let's wait and see what happens with it. We went from definitely signing a striker to we might not sign a striker. May sign a De Jong to may not do it happen. May sign Timber to no news about Timber. And now we hear about Anthony. Nothing's changed except Woodward, says Abin Manu. And I'm totally with you on frustration levels, Mark. Only thing about Bissouma is the court case hanging over him, but it didn't stop Spurs buying him, says Delicate Official. And morning, Mark. I think the Glazers saw the show last night. If we didn't sign anyone work with what you have, we are screwed, says Mikael Roach. And Bog, thank you very much for the super chat there. So we'll have to wait and see what's happening with Vitinha. A couple of people are saying that he's rubbish. I mean, look, it's a community. Have your say. He's just had a fantastic season for Porto. He's not rubbish. He's a good player. But I expect that from some of our fans who don't know anything about a player, and he's not glamorous enough, is he? So, people are angry at the moment. Make your own mind up. Mark, apparently Arsenal are willing to break the bank for Nkunku. Thoughts? Also, are you concerned that only United after De Jong and Timber, etc., says Jack? I'm trying really hard, Jack. I'm trying really hard this morning not to get completely and utterly irrationally pissed off because I'm disgusted by that Bissouma deal to Spurs. I actually tweeted before I went live. I think that's. I mean, I'm going to do a video on That's Football, so I don't want to talk about it too much. But I actually think he's the signing of the summer so far, pound for pound. 25 million for Bissouma. I just can't get over it. I can't get over that deal. I think it's a fantastic deal. I've never not been impressed with him when United have played Brighton. I think he's pocketed Bruno a couple of times. He runs the midfield. I'm not even overhyping the one where they smashed us at the end of the season. Like every time they play us, he plays well. Hey Rob, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much for joining. And Akil says quarterly credit interest are usually capitalised January, April, July and August. Owners want to secure huge interest in July before doing any transaction. It's pathetic, says Akil. Mark, I would love to see United sign someone like Vitinha instead of us all again slipping into the marquee signing cycle of failure, says Yoshimo. And ever since we were so excited about signing Fred, I've become very wary of these young midfielders who look good but don't develop. In comes Ten Hag, says Dowell. Oh mate, there's no guarantee that any player is going to develop. Of course, every transfer has an element of risk to it. I think that's a completely fair assessment, Dowell. So I wouldn't have a problem with that. But look, I'm just going to say it. I don't really care. It's my opinion. You all have your opinions as well. If I'd never known about De Jong and we'd bought Lema and Bissouma for 50 million, I'd have been over the moon with this summer. I'd have been absolutely over the moon with Bissouma and Lema because we're not going to win the league next year and we're not in the Champions League. So those two players would have instantly taken our shit midfield to a level that was very good. I mean, I like De Jong. I really want us to sign De Jong. But in some ways, I feel it's just disrupted the summer. of course, I can't moan because it's what Ten Hag wants, and we've got to back what Ten Hag wants. And also, I want De Jong. He's fantastic, but we are not in the Champions League. We are not going to win the league anytime soon. Is De Jong actually the right signing this summer? It feels like we're going to buy 1, 2, maybe 3 players instead of buying 5 or 6. And that team needs 5 or 6, not 2 or 3. And I like De Jong, I really do. I back Ten Hag, I get it, I completely get it. But our summer, I'm thinking, have we made a... Well, I'm not saying we've made a mistake, but I would have gone differently. I wouldn't have spent 70 million on De Jong. I wouldn't have done it. I back it, I want it, I agree with it, but I'm not the manager. Ten Hag is, and that's why I back it. But if I was sat there in April, I'd have gone £70 million on one player. We're not going. I know he's good enough to win the Champions League, and I know he's good enough to win the league, but we're not. We're putting a player into this team that's not ready for that. And yes, he might help us get there, but he's 25. In 3 years, he's 28. You know, he's in his prime. That's great. I get it, but we could have saved 20 million and got 2 midfielders. Like 70 million for De Jong against 50 million for Lema and Basuma. And people say, well, we might not have got them. We could have got Basuma, and Lema we would have got if we kept Rangnick. So we could have done those deals. And but United never want to do that. United would never want to do that. Well, Basuma and Lema aren't going to sell shirts. So there's that as well. I mean, I'm conflicted. I really am conflicted because I really like De Jong and he's a brilliant signing. But is it the right signing for now? Are we still trying to be Man United, the biggest club in the world, when actually our fan base knows we're the biggest club in the world, but not on the pitch? We need to rebuild that team. So many of those players are Man United players. They're frauds. They're not United players. And we need to clear it out. Vitinha and Sangari, €60 million, same as De Jong, complimentary, says Stephen Swift. And hey Rob, welcome to the members club. Well, this is always the problem when you spend £90 million on Paul Pogba, or £80 million on Harry Maguire, or £75 million on Jadon Sancho, or £50 million on Aaron Wan-Bissaka, or £70 million on De Jong. So much money goes into one player that if they're not brilliant, you will go, well, instead of spending £80 million on Harry Maguire, we could have kept Chris Smalling and used that money elsewhere. Instead of spending £50 million on Aaron Wan-Bissaka, we already had Delot at the club, so we could have used Delot and brought in somebody cheaper. I mean, we're all genius in hindsight, but spending a lot of money on one player has rarely worked well for United. How can Erik ten Hag get the best out of the team if he's not getting transfers before pre-season? Do you think Rashford might leave to Barca in a swap deal? No, I don't think he will, Victor. And at this point, I don't really mind who we get, so as long as they're committed and passionate about playing, it'll be a super improvement. Then we can tweak it, says Adastra. And can someone at United please read the room? Deals are being done left, right and centre, but we want to celebrate 5 years of Lindelof. Matty, I don't even look at United's Twitter account at the moment. They cannot read the room, and I don't know what they're doing. I mean, ultimately, Man United social media, if they can't run around the back of the goal at the Stretford end when Ronaldo's scoring a goal, filming it on their phone, they're lost. You know, they're lost. They don't know how to deal. Man United need better social media strategy, because Man United's social media strategy is built around a successful football club. We've not been a successful football club for 5 years. Like, this club just doesn't know how to run when we're not successful. There is a way to communicate with your fans. The fan base is very realistic about where we are, but it does feel like we're constantly trying to con our fans with 5 years of Lindelof, or Rashford's training in America, or let's look back at our good results against Liverpool from 10 years ago, or, you know, who's on international duty tonight. Let's go and buy another marquee shirt sale to make them all happy. It sometimes scares me what I think might happen at Manchester United's boardroom level on how they try to get the feel-good factor back. Ooh, let's put some clips out of John O'Shea scoring at Anfield. Ooh, let's buy a marquee signing because everyone will just buy the shirt. Fans are way, way more intelligent than that now. And I don't know whether United really appreciate that, because you know what everyone's talking about this morning? It's not a 5 years of Lindelof. They're talking about how the hell have Spurs gone and got Basuma for 25 million when we are putting statements out there about having a restricted transfer budget, but we need fucking 8 players. We're trying to negotiate a £70 million player with a £120 million budget. And Spurs have just bought a £25 million player in a position we need. Put that on your cornflakes. £120 million budget. We're negotiating for a £70 million player. That leaves us 50 to get 3 more players. Spurs, £150 million budget. I've just bought a midfielder for 25. That leaves them £125 million to spend on other players. It's not rocket science, is it? Jobby TV has just gifted 5 United Stand memberships. You're a legend in the chat, pal. Thank you very much for doing that. If you benefited, thank you very much who joins the members club and supports the channel. Really appreciate that. Don't forget to check out your exclusive members club content. Okay, so let's move on to another story I just wanted to bring into you. So that's about Vitinha. Look, I'm going to bring this in. This was from the Manchester Evening News. The value of Manchester United has dropped by over 1.3 billion after shares fell to a record low on Monday. By the close of play on June the 13th, shares in Manchester United PLC were trading at just over $11, a drop of 47% since October 2021. Now, you know, that to me doesn't. I mean, it matters. It does matter, but there's a lot of financial uncertainty in the world at the moment. What was more important in that article was that Rich Fay mentioned that United's debt is still close to £500 million. £500 million of debt. This has been the same for 16 years. Since the Glazers took over us, we've always been in hundreds of millions of pounds of debt. And it also says in the article that on June the 24th, so next week, there'll be another raft of dividends going to the Glazers. Remember what I said yesterday? Manchester United owners are the only owners in the Premier League that take regular millions out of their club. The only club. And we talk about restricted budgets whilst bleeding the club twice a year of dividends to the owners. We are where we are because of these owners. I mean, I don't want to talk about it any more than that, but we are. We keep buying icing packets instead of buying the eggs, butter, flour and sugar. What kind of bakers are these prats? It's literal insanity, says Gabrielle Noel. What a great analogy. I think you're right. It's been said before. United are constantly buying the icing on the cake. They're constantly buying the pretty thing on top of the cake that people will go, ooh, that's a marquee. But actually, the reality is, you know, in fact, do you know what a marquee is? It's a big tent. It's a massive tent. So United are always doing marquee signings. So we buy the marquee signing, but we don't buy the structure. We don't buy the poles to build the marquee. And that's an even better analogy than the cake, because we love marquee signings. So we buy the marquee signing, but we don't buy the tent pegs and everything else to put it up. It's all about the structure. It's about the players. It's about the structure. You can't buy a marquee and not buy the structure. Mark, I feel like Vitinha is just another spin to show we're active. Can't see it happening. I'm fed up and feel worried for us and Erik ten Hag this season, says Perry Smith. Yes, look, yeah, United taking more dividends out. Now, this is quite interesting. This is coming from the Times, I believe. There is a gentleman's agreement between Erik ten Hag and Ajax in place that he will not gut the team. And it goes on to say that Antony is one of a number of players who Manchester United have been tipped to land this summer. The club have lists for each position. However, a deal is not thought to be at an advanced stage as they focus on signing a midfielder. And I found this quite interesting. There is a gentleman's agreement between Ajax. Because we've spoken about this quite a lot. There is certainly a respect between Manchester United and Ajax. And obviously Ten Hag is the former manager there. We shouldn't be gutting the team. We shouldn't be gutting the Ajax team. I said 1 or 2 players, and for me that's Timber and Antony, and then you walk away. That Timber and Antony are 2 players that Bayern Munich would want, that Liverpool would look at, that, you know, good teams would look at Antony and Timber. So whether he's the former manager or not, we should be looking at those 2 players. But the minute he wants 3 or 4 is the minute I'd be going, hold on a minute, look, we've recruited you because of your very, very good CV, but this is Manchester United. You can't buy half the Ajax team. So, look, if we can get Timber and Antony out of that, I'd be happy. United putting the icing on the cake. We haven't baked yet again, says Andreas. And Dazzo says, I'm bored done. Realise that you buy him for 25 million, the next day is worth 50 million. De Jong for 80 million, next day is still worth 80 million. Player doesn't work lower, says Dazzo. Well, one of the things is, Dazzo, as well, and this doesn't get mentioned enough, but United should know this. We should be all over the Basumas and Lamers because you're right. If we buy that player, and Zakaria was the same, 5 million player, he's gone to Juventus, he's worth 20 million today because his contract was low. So they got him for cheap and he's got a sell-on value. Basuma will be the same, Lamer will be the same. You buy these players that have a low value for various reasons, but the day you buy them, they double in value because their real value is realised. So Spurs buy Basuma for 25 million. Tomorrow he's worth 50. Because he's at Spurs, he's playing Champions League football, and he's a very good midfielder in his mid-20s. So he's a £50 million player the day he puts on a Spurs shirt, even though they've spent 25 million on him. What the problem is with buying an expensive player is that unless they are a success, you are going to bleed yourself of money. And it amazes me that Man United are run by people who are so obsessed with making money out of this club, but their transfer policy is that of an idiot. And what I mean by that is, if you spend £90 million on Paul Pogba, he better be one of the world's best players because his resale value is going to plummet if he's just okay or inconsistent. And that's what happened. If you spend £80 million on Harry Maguire, you've been robbed, but he better be the best centre-back the world's ever seen because you're never going to sell him for £80 million again, and his value will plummet. Same with Wan-Bissaka. Man United have got a long history. Even Di Maria, we spent 60 million on him and we had to sell him a year later for 45. We lost 15 million in a year. But United keep doing it. We'll keep buying 70, 80 million pound players. They then don't become what we bought them for and their value drops. And nobody will buy them and we won't sell them because we're obsessed with getting the money back. But on top of that, they're also on ridiculous wages. So you get trapped, like Pogba never should have been here for 6 years. You get trapped with these expensive signings on big wages for years and years and years and years. Harry Maguire's not going anywhere. He's 29. We spent £80 million on a 26-year-old. He's 29. He's an £80 million player on 200 grand a week, and he's on a massive contract. Harry Maguire will be here when he's 33. I'm absolutely convinced. We've got another 4 years of Harry because nobody's going to buy him and no one's going to pay his wages. We can talk about rebuilding our centre-back pairing. We're not rebuilding anything because we are trapped with players we cannot get rid of. So basically, any manager has to come in and be told you've got to work with them. That's not how you build a football club, by the way. Chelsea don't do it, Man City don't do it, and Liverpool don't do it. They didn't bring Klopp in and say, you know all these shit players that we've got, you've got to work with them and make us great. Klopp said, no, I can't. I need to get rid of them, and they got rid of them. Man City, Pep, the same. Chelsea, Tuchel, the same. You cannot bring a manager in, no matter how good they are, and tell them they've got to work with the shit you've required before they came in because you can't get rid of them. And that's always the problem when you spend a lot of money on a player. You trap the next 3 managers with them because £70 million on Frankie de Jong, and I like de Jong and I think he will work, but let's just use him as an example because we're always using Maguire or Pogba or whoever. We spend £70 million on de Jong and we give him a 5-year deal. Ten Hag fails and is sacked within 18 months. New manager comes in, doesn't really like de Jong, says to the board, I don't really like de Jong. Well, he's got 3.5 years left on his contract. He's on 350 grand a week. We spent £70 million on him. He's not done very well. No one will buy him. You're going to have to use him. That's basically been happening at United for 9 years. Every new manager that comes in has to use the expensive mistakes of the previous regime. And we never do anything about it. Whereas, if you did spend your time, and I think Rangnick wanted to do this, and I think many of you wanted to do this, if you do spend your time recruiting people for like 25, 30 million pounds, if they don't work, it doesn't matter. And look at Dan James. Dan James didn't work. We still managed to sell him and get our money back. We just I don't know. Hi Mark, I don't know why we are spending the first few weeks of our summer transfer window chasing Darwin Núñez for 80 million and Frankie de Jong for 70 million. I just question the policy. Like, we've been doing this for 9 years. Why are we spending the start of our transfer window chasing marquee signings again when everybody universally, from Jamie Carragher to Jamie Oliver, know United need to rip that team apart and rebuild it, and yet we're trying to add icing on the cake signings to a shit squad? Because that's what Nunez and De Jong are. They're icing on the cake signings. They're marquee signings. Do we need 1 or 2 marquee signings in that team? Or do we need to rip it down and build it up again? We need to rebuild the team, and we're spending all this time on marquee signings at the moment. Hi Mark, I wonder how long it will be until we stop getting excited in transfer windows. Always fooled with marquee signings. You bang on every time, says Andon Brown. Yesterday you berated the club for not wanting to pay huge for a striker. Today you're on about the club going for marquee signings. You confuse us sometimes, says True. I think I confuse you, mate, because I don't think you actually understand what I'm talking about. What I'm saying is Erik ten Hag wanted Nunez. And they wasted 5 weeks trying to get him, and they didn't get him. I'm not in charge. I'm observing, and this is where you need to listen. I'm not in charge. I'm not the manager, and I'm not the CEO. I'm telling you what I would do. I wouldn't be going for marquee signings. That's my opinion. We're living in a reality, mate. We live in a reality where Manchester United have spent the last 5 weeks negotiating with Nunez and didn't get him. We're living in a reality where we're negotiating with De Jong. I can have an opinion and I can comment on the reality. I don't agree with us going for Nunez and De Jong. I don't. I would have loved to get both because they're very good players, but I don't agree with that policy. That's my personal opinion. I'm not going to rip it up and go, I can't believe we bought De Jong. I think he's a very, very good player. I'm commentating on my opinion that I don't think we should have been going for it. I've said this consistently for 3 months. I don't think we should be going for marquee signings this summer, but we are. So I'm stating my opinion, and then I'm moving into the reality of where we are going for marquee signings. And what I'm saying is, I berated the club yesterday because they've spent 5 weeks going for a marquee signing in Nunez, and then they didn't get him. And we're spending 7 weeks on De Jong, and we've still not got anywhere with that. There's a difference between commenting on reality and commenting on opinion. Hopefully that's the end of the lesson. Basuma's going to Spurs. United are absolutely so slow in the transfer market, says Sakiv. And it's all part of the plan, Mark, for them to focus on De Jong and drag this out as long as possible, says Malps. Well, I hate having to do this. I hate having to do this, but I'm going to do it. There is an update on De Jong. You can boo me if you like. You can boo me if you like. I don't want to do it, but it's a morning show. You know, it has to be done. So Barcelona have officially contacted Frankie de Jong to explain why they are considering his departure for 80 million euros. The economic situation is very bad and we need to sell. It's sad, but that is our reality. So there's an update on de Jong if that's the thing that gets you excited every day. If you need your de Jong fix, there it is. Barcelona have apparently told de Jong they might sell him because they need to raise some money. Slow Sports News. Yellow tie, Audi driver, crunchy nut cornflakes in my mouth. Come on, get them in, shovel it in. Slow Sports News there. I mean, the most terrifying thing about that is it's complete regurgitation of everything we've known for 5 weeks. But it also talks about 80 million euros plus 20 million add-ons. Who the bloody hell are you selling us? Are you selling us Nunez? £80 million for Frankie de Jong plus 20 million in add-ons. What the bloody hell? What are we... Why are we spending that much money on Frankie de Jong? I mean, I said this 4 weeks ago. £60 million or we walk away. They're desperate for bloody money. £60 million or we walk away. Screw your add-ons. £60 million, 70 million euros. That's all you're getting, or we walk away. This deal's got to work for us. 80 million euros plus 20 million euros. That's 100 million euros. That's nearly 90 million pounds. I mean, have we not learnt from the trip to Leicester 3 years ago? We basically went to Leicester Market with with a cow and came back with magic beans. And it didn't grow into a beanstalk. I mean, I'm terrified of the final fee that we pay Barcelona. I've got to be honest. If we get De Jong, he's a really good player. But you've got to make it work. Barcelona are desperate for money. De Jong doesn't really want to leave. We've got to be getting a good deal for ourselves. We can't be paying top dollar with add-ons for De Jong when they're desperate for money and he doesn't want to leave. Hi, Mark. I wonder how long it will be until we stop getting it. I've done that one. Hi, Mark. Just want to hope we can be responsible and careful in who we buy and especially let Ten Hag build his team properly and quickly, says Chris Rodriguez. Dividend payment next week. Debt increase. We've got to let the Glazers take what they want before Ten Hag and the board know the transfer budgets. That's why it's always only talks, says Sean Turner. Murta madness, they said. They could have got Paul Mitchell, says Victor. You know what, Victor? I saw a picture yesterday and it's probably... Forget like signings and things like that. It's probably the moment where, as a football fan who cares about the structure of the football club, I got really excited. Was it the end of March or early April? It was a youth game or an under-23 game. And it was Ralph Rangnick and Paul Mitchell sat together watching it. And I thought, this is it. This is the start. We get Ten Hag in as manager. We keep Rangnick and we get Paul Mitchell in to support Murta and we go for it. Where are we? Those two people had nothing to do with United. Mitchell was never recruited and Rangnick was sacked. I'll tell you what, whatever you think about Rangnick, his recruitment would have been the one where we go and get people like Basuma and Lema for 20, 25 million, 30 million. He would have bought 5 or 6 players in this summer for about 170 million. It looks like we're going to buy 2, maybe 3 for 170 million if United do what they're doing. Mark, this could just be Barcelona stringing us along. Mate, if we get strung along, I've never seen big, massive protests in the summer, but United are going to be in all sorts of shit. Ericsson's going to Spurs, apparently, says Leo. Yeah, I'd heard about that, but it did hurt Makish, it did. Anyway, look, thanks everyone for watching. We will be back at 2 o'clock, and let's see what more crap we can get delivered today. I do not want to be doing another De Jong video about anything, so hopefully there'll be some developments around other stuff, or maybe I'll just do a Q&A at 2. In fact, I enjoyed the Q&A yesterday at 2. Might do that again. It's therapeutical. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, bottom right hand corner. Smash a like on the video, and thanks everyone who's become a member. If you want to join the members club, get your badge next to your name in the chat. Click the join button. We've also got exclusive content for you. How can we shut the fans up? Lindelof, 5 years, says Adam Brand. I just don't look at United Twitter. You're not going to get anything happy at the moment. It's not worth looking at. I'll see you all at 2 o'clock. Thanks for watching. Take care, and I'll speak to you in a bit. Thanks for the therapy session, by the way. It was nice to get something off my chest.